So a new Saw film is finally upon us. Spiral from the Book of Saw. This title, I don't know. The Book of Saw? What book? I don't know. Whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, so as the story goes, Chris Rock walked into, I'm guessing, Lionsgate or something, maybe Twisted Pictures, and said, "Hey, I got an idea for a Saw film." And they're like, "Hey, you're Chris Rock, so I guess, that'll help us revitalize this franchise." It's, I guess, on its last leg for them, and they just wanted to try to revitalize it. And Chris Rock was their answer, because comedians right now seem to think that they can do horror. I mean, it's just one after the other lately. It's just all these funny guys want to be scary now. And so, okay. I apologize for how long this review has taken to get to. I did see this opening night, as one would expect, but I had some serious issues in my personal life. Nothing to worry about or anything, just I couldn't get to this. So anyway, now this stars Chris Rock, and it also has Samuel L. Jackson in it, so he's had it with all of these motherfucking traps in this motherfucking Saw movie. I will say, okay, while it definitely feels Saw-like, this is trying to do its own thing. And if you guys know me and my channel enough, you know I'm a Saw fanboy. It's my favorite horror franchise ever. I love the franchise, especially the first 7. I hold them in very high regards. Jigsaw, I'm very blah on. I think it's fine. But when I saw that the guys that wrote Jigsaw were writing this, along with Chris Rock's treatment, I was like, oh God, I hope his treatment's amazing, because the writing in Jigsaw isn't great. So I went into this pretty hesitant. This is the first Saw I walked into where I honestly was not expecting to like it much. And maybe this is one of those scenarios where I'll change my mind after a viewing or two later on, but this one just didn't work for me. This one just did not work for me. I talked with my fiance about it a good amount, and I told her, like, I didn't really know exactly what I was going to say with this review, and we went over a lot of things. And of course, with Saw movies, there is a lot of spoiler territory that you don't want to stumble into. So I'm definitely trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but I don't know what your level of spoiler is. Essentially, there is a Jigsaw-like killer who's taken out cops, and Chris Rock is a detective who is trying to figure out who's doing it, much like the first movie with Detective Tapp trying to track him down. But this is not told from the perspective of people in traps. This is told more from the perspective of the detective this time around, which is, kind of half of what Saw 2 is about. As far as Chris Rock's fresh take, I definitely don't think this is a fresh take. I think that this is a take that plays to the times, and certain situations with, the police. So I get the social commentary that's going on in here. I just didn't see anything that was in this film that was like, holy shit, what a brilliant way to take this franchise. No, not really. It's just a new killer who's killing a specific set of groups. Now, okay, there's a line in this movie that should not be in this movie. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed Saw 2, 3, and 4, which is what gave me the most hope for this film by far. And so when I was watching this, there's a line in this movie where they're talking about the Jigsaw killer. And they're like, yeah, but the Jigsaw killer doesn't target cops, or didn't target cops. What the fuck are you talking about? And this is said by cops, and cops within that area in which the Saw murders would have taken place. How many cops died in the Saw franchise? And how many of them were targeted specifically by Jigsaw? Detective Matthews? Carrie? Rigg? Perez, Straub, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, Hoffman kills an entire police department. Paris? Did I say Paris? Am I fucking Kim Jong-un in Team America? A police station. He kills fucking everyone. He sets up a turret gun that kills everybody. He goes in there, he slashes everyone's throats. Like, probably, what, 40, 50 fucking cops die in the Saw franchise before this? And he's like, oh, I mean, they don't really target cops. What is that line? So that line really irritated me, and it just did not flow with the rest of the franchise. Here's another thing. I didn't like the traps. I didn't like the traps. While the actual practical effects for the gore, and most notably the aftermath of things, looked great. It looked like real flesh. It looked like real human body being torn apart. Sure. Good stuff. That kind of stuff is cool. But the traps, to me, I think where this movie lost me in the traps, which is like one of the main things you're there for in a Saw film, is that there's a lot of emotion lost from the traps. Because the traps are done on people that are mostly muzzled and don't really have the ability to talk or emote and give us any kind of, like they're sorry or they're angry or whatever. We can tell they're in pain. We can tell, but we don't really, I don't know. I'm not connecting with that victim in that moment. Like, whether it's somebody trying to get somebody out of a trap who can talk, or it's, somebody that's in the trap who can talk, there's a lot of great emotion that I can read on these people, even if their mouths are shown shut. I cannot say this word. Sewn shut. Holy fuck. I fucked that up like 4 times in a row. That was hilariously awful. But like the mausoleum trap, the one dude's mouth is open and his eyes are sewn shut, and then the other, Art Blank's character has his lips sewn shut. So we get talking from him, but not from him, but I know really what's going on in that scene. This just did not have the emotion or the impact or anything for me of a Saw film. And okay, this is definitely not to shit on anybody or to try to make it sound like I'm smarter than anybody or anything. But me and my fiance agree on this 1,000,000 fucking percent, and a few of my other friends as well. I genuinely don't understand, to the point where I am believing people are lying, that they didn't see the ending and who the killer was. This is so unbelievably obvious, it actually pissed me off. Where I figured it out within, 20 or 30 minutes, and then 20, 30 minutes later, it's so obvious that I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, do they have a neon sign pointing to this person? Like, come on. And I actually seen people like, oh my God, I haven't been shocked by an ending like this in a Saw film in forever. What? Were you not paying attention at all? Do you not know the rules of cinema? That's all you need to know. You don't even need to have seen a Saw movie before. You just need to know the rules of movies. And I'm not going to say what they are because obviously that would give things away, but it's just like, it happened. And moving on from that, I really didn't like Chris Rock in this movie almost at all. There are moments, but it's Chris Rock being Chris Rock. He has a lot of jokes. People are worried about that. Is it going to be a lot of humor? Yeah, there is a lot of humor. He goes on this Forrest Gump ramp in the opening. That didn't really land for me much at all. He goes on this like ex-wife, your wife kind of rant. That didn't really work for me at all. There's a line or two here that made me kind of snicker a little bit, but mostly the comedy just didn't hit, and maybe it's just because I didn't want it in Saw, and maybe I was just kind of, folding my arms and being like, no, I'm not going to laugh. That's not how it felt to me. I guess it's possible. And yeah, sure, maybe this is a film I'll come around on a little bit. Maybe a sequel will come out and warm me up to this more because it'll add things to it that this film just didn't have for me. I mean, look at number 4. It's a film that I wasn't crazy about the first time, and I now think it's my second favorite in the franchise. So, Man, I didn't like the music choices at all. Didn't make it feel like a Saw film. But of course, this is trying to be its own thing, right? So it's like it's trying to be its own thing. But really, all it felt like to me, honestly, it felt like a movie that was written as its own thing, and then Lionsgate or somebody got their hands on it, and they're like, we could make this into a Saw movie if we just twisted things here and there. It kind of felt like one of the later Hellraiser films in that way, where it's like clearly a different script. But we know that's not true, right? We know that Chris Rock went in and he specifically was like, I want to make a Saw film like this. I think the film would have greatly benefited from Chris Rock not being the star. And Samuel Jackson is there, but I don't know. Now, as far as like the impact of the ending and what it all amounts to, that's fine. It didn't really impact me all that much, but I will say that with that scene or with that whole ending, the motivation for this to be connected to the Saw franchise, like having it be like, oh, I've been inspired. You're looking for something like that, right? You're looking for something like I was Jigsaw's apprentice, like you get in Jigsaw, or fucking Saw 3 and Saw 4 and stuff, with Hoffman and Amanda, and then of course Logan later on. There's at least motive. There's at least something. Like even in Jigsaw, I felt like, okay, I get why this person's doing this. And while I do get why the person is doing what they're doing, Logan from part 8, I understood why it was connected to the Sawverse. This one I don't understand at all. This one I'm just like, I guess they wanted to use it, so they did. I don't know. Like, to me, that didn't land at all, and that made it feel very forced. Also, the fucking voice. Oh, I hate to harp on this because change it up. I like changing things up. But the voice, the Jigsaw voice. Oh, you want to play a game? That voice that we're so used to, that fucking Amanda used, that Hoffman used, and of course John Kramer used, and even Logan used. But they wanted to change it up, and I'm all for that. But the voice they used here was horrible. It was very, very feminine, and it just did not work at all. It was like, do you want to play a game? If you do, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, God, that's the voice you went with? No, 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 no. So that was off-putting. The traps just felt, I don't know, they felt uninspired to me. They felt like they were trying to be gross and kind of shock the audience, but that they weren't all that interesting. Like, there are a lot of my favorite traps are in Saw: The Final Chapter, which is a movie that is hated by a lot of people, and a lot of people I've been seeing saying that Spiral's in their top like 3 Saw films. If you're just there for the traps, like some people are, I don't understand why Saw 7 is so hated and this one seems to be so beloved, because the traps in Saw 7 are fucking incredible. The horsepower one, the skinhead one with the Linkin Park dude is amazing. The fucking the fish hook in the stomach, and if she screams, the things are gonna pierce her neck, is amazing. Like, there's some amazing traps in that movie. If I would have seen that shit in this movie, it would have amplified it for sure. But I really didn't like any of the traps very much. While the practicals on the flesh and all that looked good, I didn't like the concepts all that much behind the traps. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, A, I just didn't like the traps, but also because I didn't really get to get anything out of the characters when they were in the traps. And another thing they do here that's so weird and so out of place, and it really takes away from the film, is like almost all of the traps are shown in aftermath, to where we know these people didn't get out of them. So we just see like what happened, and then we get a flashback, kind of like when Tap's going in and he's looking in the razor room, and he's looking in the fucking safe room, and we get those replays, and it's like those are like secondary stories. This is primary stuff. Primary stuff I need to see. I need to believe these people can get out of these traps. So that really disconnected me, and it's also used specifically for a reason later on, and it didn't even work. So they used it for a reason, which I don't want to say because it's spoilers. But this is why I believe the way that they did this for this very reason. Trying to be very careful, but it amounted to nothing because I still moving on. Okay, whatever. I think I'm done with this. I really hope I'll change my view here. I really do. But as of right now, I am completely underwhelmed with this movie. I did not like a lot of it. A lot of it. There are things I liked, sure. But they're few and far between. Few and far between. And that's terrible for me to say. I've never said that before with a Saw film. I'm bummed. I really am. Like, I don't really see what's so fresh about Chris Rock's take outside of its, social commentary. Like, okay, cool. There's that. Okay, I get it. Fuck the police. But what else do you got? Because it still needs to be an entertaining Saw film as well. I don't know. I like the little puppet, the new one, the little pig thing. I guess that's a slant at cops. It's a pig, right? It's like a little pig puppet as opposed to Billy the Puppet. And he's going after cops, and cops are pigs. Suppose whatever. That's the derogatory slang towards them. I like the look of it. It's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I really didn't like. I didn't really like the performances all that much. As far as the other characters go, I'm not gonna get into them. I'm bummed. I'm bummed, and that's all there is to it. And this is a 17-minute long, good spoiler for discussion. Let me know what you thought. I'm bummed. That's all I can say. My first Saw film, I genuinely just don't like. It's bound to happen, 9 films. What can you do? I still have 7 films I adore, 1 film I like, and 1 film I'm not big on or don't like, and maybe it'll change. So, anyways, let me know. Adios.